The first death happened during harvest season, and no one questioned it. Old Mama Sod had complained of chest pain in the afternoon. By nightfall, she was gone. The women wailed. The men dug the grave. Life in the village of Oke-Ira moved on. That same night, when the moon hung thin and pale, Morenike stood alone in her small yam field. She called the dead woman's name. At first, nothing happened. The cricket sang. The wind moved softly through the cassava leaves. Morenike swallowed and called again. On the third call, the soil shifted. She washed her face with the clear liquid Baba Ariko had given her and whispered the words he taught her. When she opened her eyes, she saw what ordinary eyes could not. Mama Sod stood in the field. Not breathing. Not speaking. But standing. Walk, Morenike said quietly. And the spirit bent to the soil. 17 years earlier, Morenike had been known as the poorest woman in Oke-Ira. Her husband, Jide, was hardworking but gentle to a fault. Their mud house leaked when it rained. Their children often slept on empty stomachs. Jide believed patience would change their fortunes. Morenike believed patience had already stolen too many years. The day her youngest child fainted from hunger, something hardened inside her. That evening, while Jide repaired a broken hoe, she made a decision without telling him. She walked beyond the dry riverbed to find Baba Ariko, the herbalist many feared to mention openly. He listened as she spoke of hunger, shame, and exhaustion. When she finished, he studied her for a long time before offering a solution. When someone dies, he said, call their name at midnight while standing on your farmland. Call 3 times. The earth will release their spirit to you. He handed her a small bottle of water and a pouch of black powder. The water will allow you to see them. The powder will quiet your husband's will. He must not question you. Morenike did not ask further questions. She returned home before dawn. The night Mama Sod died was the first time she tried it. The next harvest, her yams were larger than before. Not extraordinary, but noticeably healthier. Jide praised her improved farming skills. She smiled and said nothing. When a fisherman drowned weeks later, she called his name too. Her harvest doubled. People began to notice. God has remembered her, the neighbor said. More villagers died over the years. Some were elderly. Some were not. Fever took a few. Accidents took others. Each time, Morenike stood in her field at midnight and called their names. Each time, a spirit rose. Her farmland expanded gradually. She bought more land from struggling farmers. Her yam barns grew taller. She donated food during a drought and earned admiration from the village elders. Jide changed quietly. After Morenike sprinkled the black powder beneath his sleeping mat, his questions stopped. He obeyed her without resistance. If she returned late from the farm, he did not ask why. If she made decisions without consulting him, he agreed. He told himself he trusted her. He did not realize something deeper had been taken from him. At midnight, the farm was no longer empty. Spirits moved in steady silence, tilling, planting, harvesting. They did not rest. They did not complain. They worked until the first hint of dawn, when they faded back into the earth. Morenike told herself she was not harming anyone. The villagers were already dead, she reasoned. She was only using what remained. Her children grew well-fed and strong. They attended school in clean clothes. They walked through the market without shame. But her eldest daughter, Zainab, noticed patterns. Whenever someone died, her mother seemed restless that night. Whenever the farm grew larger, another burial had recently taken place, Zainab began paying attention. One evening, she pretended to sleep and watched her mother leave the house long after everyone else had gone to bed. Zainab followed from a distance, keeping to the shadows. She stopped at the edge of the field. Shapes were moving where no lantern burned. Her heart pounded. She told herself it was imagination. The next day, while sweeping her mother's room, she found the small bottle hidden inside a basket. She hesitated only a moment before opening it. That night, she washed her face with the water and whispered the words she had once heard her mother mutter under her breath. When she opened her eyes, the field was full. Men and women she recognized from past funerals moved through the crops. Some had been buried years ago. They walked without sound, their faces blank. One spirit turned its head slowly toward her. Zainab stepped back, her breath caught in her throat. She ran home and did not sleep until morning. At dawn, she went to the village chief. He frowned at her accusation. "Mind your tongue," he warned. "Do not speak carelessly about your mother." Zainab showed him the bottle. That night, the chief and 2 elders followed her to the edge of the farm. One by one, they washed their faces and spoke the chant. One by one, their expressions changed. The chief staggered back. "Call the others," he whispered. By midnight, several elders stood watching the field. The spirits worked as they always had, unaware that living eyes now saw them clearly. The elders went first to Jide. They lifted his sleeping mat and found the black powder. As soon as it scattered onto the floor, Jide blinked as though waking from a long dream. He looked at the elders gathered inside his house. "What is happening?" When they told him, his face drained of color. Morenike returned from the farm to find the compound full of villagers. The chief stepped forward. "Release them." She looked at him steadily. "Release who?" "The dead you have chained to your land." "They are not chained," she replied. "They walk." "You called them." "They were already gone." Jide stared at her as though seeing her for the first time. "Is it true?" She held his gaze but did not answer. The villagers followed her to the farm. The spirits continued their labor under the moonlight. "Tell them to stop," the chief demanded. Morenike walked a few steps into the field. For years, a single word from her had been enough to command them. She opened her mouth. Nothing happened. The spirits slowed on their own. One by one, they straightened and turned toward her. They did not move closer. They did not speak. They simply stood. The air felt heavier. Morenike tried again. "Walk," she said. No one bent to the soil. A thin smoke began to rise from the ground. At first, it looked like mist. Then the leaves of the yam vines began to curl inward. The villagers stepped back. The spirit started to fade, not sinking into the soil as before, but lifting slowly upward, dissolving into the night air. Morenike reached out as if she could pull them back. Within minutes, the crops darkened and collapsed. The rich earth that had once seemed fertile turned pale and dry. The smoke disappeared as quickly as it had come. By dawn, the largest farm in Oke-Ira was nothing but brittle stems and grey soil. The spirits did not return the following night. Baba Ariko was found and driven far from the region. His hut was destroyed. Jide moved through the days in silence. He avoided his wife's eyes. Zainab stayed close to her younger siblings. Morenike changed. She spoke to empty corners of the house. She woke in the night calling names that no one else heard. Sometimes she stood at the edge of the ruined farm, staring at the barren land for hours. She insisted the workers would return. They never did. The next planting season, Jide tried to grow yams on the same land. The seeds rotted. He tried again in a different corner. Nothing sprouted. Other farmers tested the soil. Their crops failed too. In time, the land was abandoned. Children were warned not to wander there after sunset. Adults avoided it entirely. Morenike's laughter became rare and sudden. She would pause mid-sentence and listen to sounds no one else could hear. Within a year, she stopped leaving the house. She died quietly one afternoon, staring at the ceiling, her lips moving without sound. Oke-Ira continued without her. The abandoned farmland remained empty. Grass refused to grow. Even weeds struggled. When new families asked why the land lay unused, the elders answered simply. Some wealth is not meant to last. And on certain nights, when the wind moved low across the ground, a faint rustling could be heard over the barren field, like hands brushing against dry soil that would never yield again. If you enjoyed this story, kindly like, comment and subscribe for more amazing folklores. And tell us the country you are watching from.